Down lies in statistics. It's a very famous old quote, but every time I read about the ratings in sports, it starts to drive me a little bit crazier because what the metric? Like sometimes I just think we get lost all too often in seeing the trees for the wood. And we're not really understanding what's going on in our industry. So this year there's been a lot about how, the NFL ratings might be going down. And each week you see numbers on Sportico or somewhere else which say numbers are down, we need to be concerned, we need to think about this. And lots of people like myself throwing up red flags, going, oh, the world is over, and so on. And I think we just get lost in too many singular data points. If I think about the NFL and I think about the last season, I don't think they're in any form of trouble whatsoever. It was an election year. What typically happens in an election year, and when there are lots of news cycles going on, is you tend to find that it's the one thing that will usurp sports in the ratings and at the top of the tables. Yeah, going into this year, given what was at stake, I fully expected to see the numbers would go down. Can't see them as separate to what else is going on in the world. At the same time, think about what the NFL has been doing. It has been slowly increasing its exposure via its partners on streaming platforms. Streaming platforms tend to have a lower number of holistic viewers, but those numbers keep trending up. And if you look at the Amazon Prime Thursday night footballs, those numbers over the last few years keep tracking up. They're tried Netflix for the first time on Christmas Day, never been done before, going on to a whole series of new nights of recordings and showing their broadcasts to the point that they basically own the week. The NFL got to the point at one point where it owned the week. Now, at times I'm quite old school and I quite like having lots of games just on the Sunday and a Monday night. But I think this is brave. I think this is interesting by the NFL. I'm not sure all of it will work long term, and I think they'll retrench on some and expand on others. But they've been clever. They've greater exposure on more nights, greater exposure on streaming, which will at some point replace in the majority broadcast in some form or another. So take that in the same time as saying it was one of the biggest news years on record. So yeah, those numbers were down. But this was emphasized to me again that we seem to also forget what is the greater impact of sport. It's not just the broadcast numbers. Yeah, we want people watching the live events. Absolutely, we do. And whether that's in the stadium, at the venue, whether that's on TV or on another platform, you should not ignore the overall impact that sport is having. And I heard it again this morning working out. I listened to Peter Schrager on the Varsity, and it was a great podcast. And he said, he's a broadcast guy. He's Fox Sports. But when he gets met in the street or going through airports, it's rarely the Fox Sports bits that they lead with. It's people coming up and saying, hey, I saw you with Bill Simmons on The Ringer. Personally, it's one of my favorite podcasts, so I get it. But I think it was really striking, which was we're not just in a broadcast world, we're in a multimodal world, and therefore don't judge a sport purely by its broadcast numbers. Judge it by how it is impacting. I mean, I had this at FIFA, and I thought it was the weirdest argument to have, where I remember seeing a chart where it showed that basically digital provided no value in comparison to TV to the organization. And I thought it was just one of the most ridiculous things I'd ever seen. And I was like, right, well, so on that basis, no website, no radio, nothing counted towards the commercial value. And actually, to me, if you went away and said, okay, the broadcast, and I'm a long believer in this, that the content is the beginning of the story, not the end. So yes, it was broadcast. It had huge value to us as an organization. But the coverage it covered on social, on digital, on other platforms, on the old style web was almost unfathomably large for the FIFA World Cup. I mean, just immense. So, yeah, they pay for the TV rights and that audience, but the impact of that was across the digital world was exponentially larger. And yet, internally, the argument was, well, digital has virtually no value because the only money that comes in is directly via TV. And you're like, oh my God, this is not a zero sum game. What are we talking about? This is madness. So don't look at a single data point and go, a sport is winning, a sport is screwed. Either way, look at what is happening. Where is the audience? Where are they engaging? What are they doing? How are we reacting? Where are we appearing for them? Thousands of questions. And then remember, the NFL is absolutely killing it.